When you think of difficult games, Bloons probably isn't the first game to come to mind, but it should be. There are loads of insanely difficult things you can do in BTD6, and in today's video we'll be looking at the hardest things to do in Bloons Tower Defense 6, from achievements to mechanics and more. I've saved the hardest thing for last, and I can almost guarantee none of you have done it. We're gonna start with some crazy achievements that less than 1 in 10 players have done, and then we'll dive into types of torture that could only come from community-imposed challenges. No Harvest is an achievement you get by beating Chimp's Cornfield without removing any corn. It has a 3% completion rate, which is actually surprisingly high for an achievement like this. The reason this is such a challenge is because the map looks like this. You have hardly any room to work with, but the plus is that the room you do have is nice and curvy, so a lot of the towers can take advantage of that. Because you have no room and a really limited line of sight, this is one of the most restrictive challenges when it comes to achievements. Why in the world did the monkeys decide this cornfield would be their battleground? There isn't any room to place anything. I don't care how important the cornfield is, I wouldn't fight a war here for anything. Despite this being a very difficult challenge, this map has a kryptonite that's pretty easy to take advantage of: catapults. Once you get a certain upgrade on the catapult route on the dart monkey, your spike balls start bouncing off of walls, and as you can see, this map is nothing but walls. The catapult monkey is probably the single reason that so many people have done this achievement, because this is no doubt one of the hardest things you can do in BTD6, but our next achievement ramps things up dramatically. Our second challenging thing to get done is the Snap of Your Fingers achievement. To get it, you have to finish a game with exactly half your starting lives and starting cash. On Steam, only a measly 2.9% of the player base have this achievement. It's not difficult to guess why that number is so low. This achievement is living hell to get. BTD6 can be a very strategic game, but this achievement demands unparalleled precision and game knowledge. Without a guide, you need to plan out every single tower you're going to buy and their exact cost to make sure you don't spend even a single dollar more than you're supposed to. Ninja Kiwi, thank you for adding budgeting to Bloons. Just what I wanted. That's not all though, because you also need to figure out how to leak enough balloons to get exactly to half lives. You need to know every single round in detail, the map that you're playing, and even the balloon type's health and speed. If you don't know when the black balloons or lead balloons come, you won't have the correct amount of leakage. Then you'll have to restart and subject yourself to this torture all over again. If you want to just look at a guide to bypass all that, it still won't be that easy. Consistent updates from Ninja Kiwi have constantly rebalanced and changed prices and damage for towers, making a lot of the guides over the years completely useless. This achievement is in this weird middle ground where it's way too tedious and annoying for anyone to bother with, which makes it one of the hardest things to do in BTD6. Our next achievement has a 2.8% completion rate. So Spicy Ninja Kiwi requires you to beat Spice Islands on alternate balloon rounds with only land towers. As you can see, Spice Islands is like 126% water and 6% land, so when you can only make use of the land, you're low-key cooked. You could just throw down an ice monkey to make it so you can place ground towers on water, but the ice monkey wouldn't be the ice monkey if everyone didn't ignore his existence. The other reason why so few people have this is because of how out of the way you have to go for it. Water towers are epically awesome and super fun to use, so why would I not want to use them when I'm on a map that is nearly all water? I want to throw down my Buccaneers and my subs and forget about this stupid challenge. And while that achievement is pretty difficult to get, something that is so easy everyone should be doing it is subscribing to Bloons Watch. We make super high quality Bloons content that you don't want to miss. Also, be sure to leave a like for more videos just like this. I don't know about you, but I always have to be fidgeting with something. I spend basically all of my time at my desk and have looked everywhere for something to keep my hands busy. But everything I could find was either a cheap plastic toy or, let's just say, it clearly wasn't made for me. It was all pastels, unicorns, and glitter. I just wanted something cool that fit my interests, and because I couldn't find it, I decided to make it myself. This is Omen Slime. It's a premium slime designed for our desks. I developed incredible, satisfying textures, created themes inspired by the media we all love, and decided that every single tin should be a collectible artifact that comes with its own custom charm. I forged it for fans like us. It's the ultimate desk accessory to keep your hands busy and your mind sharp. To celebrate the launch and reward our very first supporters, we've created the Omen Slime Founders Kit. We've only made a small batch of 50 of each of these slimes for this one-time only event. When you order during the Founders Drop, you're not just getting the slime and its collectible charm. You're also getting the exclusive Founder role in our new Discord to prove you were here day one, and a 15% off Veterans Appreciation code for a future order. My guarantee is simple. If you don't agree this is the most satisfying desk tool you've ever owned, you can send the slime back for a full refund, and you can keep the 3D printed charm as my gift to you just for giving this whole thing a shot. You literally can't lose. So if you want to get your hands on one of these limited edition Founders kits, click the link in the description right now. This won't last. You might not even know this next achievement exists. Josh's Constant is a hidden achievement where you have to beat an expert map on chimps with $40,870 or more spent on one spike factory. Yes, you heard that right. You have to beat the hardest game mode on the hardest map type while dumping all your money into a random factory. If you're not counting the beautiful masterpiece that is Bloons, every expert map either has loads of exits or almost no place to throw a tower down. Considering the fact that ideal maps for spike factories are open one-exit maps, you can see how this challenge can cause an absurd amount of pain and suffering. You either go on a map with multiple exits and throw an absurd amount of money into a tower that will only make contact with max half the balloons, or you go on a single exit map with hardly any room and have room for a spike factory and maybe 2 other towers. Chimps is such a punishing game mode that neither of these will fly unless you're insanely experienced or you follow a guide. For even more context into how insane this is, most Bloons players haven't even done an expert map on chimps, and this is asking you to do that while burning an extraordinary amount of money on one tower that won't even get close to carrying. This is an achievement that might be pretty impossible if you aren't insane at balloons. If you're a less skilled player, don't worry, there are plenty of achievements where the difficulty doesn't come from skill. Conquested Territory, which has a completion rate of 2.6, is a great example of that. I guarantee that even less of you know about this achievement than the literal hidden achievement we just covered. Why? Well, it's because no one plays this game mode. 50% of you are agreeing with me, 40% of you are wondering what contested territory even is, and the other 10% of you just clicked off the video the second they heard the name of this game mode. If you're not familiar with this, it seems like I'm over-exaggerating, but look at this poll on the BTD6 subreddit about the game mode. It's crazy how a full-on game mode can be this overlooked and dunked on. Uder described it best when he said, "It was pretty cool for 5 seconds." To get the real Conquested Territory achievement, you have to capture 5 tiles off other players. But the real challenge is caring enough about this game mode to even open it. I don't want to talk about this game mode anymore, so let's get on to the next achievement. A year in the making asks something of you that's nearly impossible nowadays: commitment. You have to open the daily chest a total of 365 days. Only 2.4% of players have logged in for a year total. It really shows how hard it is when even I don't have this achievement. I literally played BTD6 every single day during school back in the COVID lockdowns. I'm currently on day 276 and I'm literally addicted to this game. The kind of dedication you need to have to do something like this is truly commendable, especially considering the fact that BTD6 takes forever to load on the phone, so it's not as easy as booting it up and grabbing your daily chest every morning. If you have this achievement, pat yourself on the back. Most people can't even commit to doing something for 3 weeks, much less a year. 25 to Life challenges you to defeat 5 unique bosses at Tier 5, and it has a low completion rate of 2.3%. The completion rate of this being so low is a concoction of a few factors that make this a challenge stew. The first should be pretty obvious for people who have played a boss mode before. The boss fights are hard in and of themselves. Beating even one of the bosses requires way more strategy from you than almost any map or game mode in the main game. And a Tier 5 boss is a whole other beast. If you want to beat this Tier 5, you have to beat the easy mode version of the boss first before you can fight the elite version and have a chance of getting this achievement. Easy would be a big challenge for a lot of the players already, but the fact that they have to take on something as difficult as an elite version of the boss is enough to turn most of the player base away. Added on to all that, it's a side mode, so it will never get the same traction that the main Tower Defense series gets. For those of us that play this game all the time, grinding Odysseys and bosses may seem like an essential part of the experience, but the average player just doesn't care about that stuff. Even though I said all that though, it doesn't change the fact that boss fights are legitimately really challenging experiences, and anything involving them definitely deserves a spot as one of the hardest things to do in Bloons. This next challenge is a lot easier to do in real life than in-game. Get into debt. Specifically, you need to get into $400,000 of debt. The best and I think only way to get this done is to literally just spam IMF loans out the wazoo. And to be honest, I don't even know if spamming is the right word because it just isn't that easy. With a lot of challenges, you load into any map and try to tackle your goal while playing a normal Bloons game. But the student loans achievement is a completely different beast. For one, most maps don't have enough space to make getting this amount of debt even possible. So you have to be very intentional with the map you choose. It gets even worse because if you do this, you also probably want to get the bank deposits monkey knowledge. Okay, now you need to go for a specific map and get some annoying monkey knowledge at the very end of a skill tree. I think you're starting to see why this is so annoying and hard to get. But it gets worse. You also need Geraldo to get those cooldowns low enough to pull this off. So you need all the monkey money to get this goofy hero. Added on to all that, it's going to be super time consuming, especially if you attempt it without one of the things I just mentioned. Most players simply don't care enough to sit there for however long this would take and sink themselves deeper and deeper into fictional debt. As a little side note, I would like to point out that when you go to this achievement on the wiki, it says this in the notes section. The achievement Student Loans is a reference to the large amounts of debt that students coming from United States colleges or universities receive. Yes, thank you very much, Bloons Wiki. If you hadn't have pointed that out, I never would have guessed that an achievement called Student Loans is about student loans. 2.2% of the entire Steam player base has done this achievement. It's easily one of the most annoying and tedious things you can do in this game. Top of your game is absurdly hard without a guide. Some people can hop into a race and know what to do, but whenever I'm looking at an empty race map, I just kind of stare at the screen while the Windows 97 error sound plays in my head, and I think most people are with me here. To get top of your game, you have to complete any race in under 3 minutes. Despite the impression I just gave you, this one is a lot less of a skill issue than it seems. Ladies and gentlemen, this achievement is pay to win. The way that races work is that you can do one race for free, and if you want to retry that race, like get better and actually learn how the race game mode works, you need to cough up real money for a race pass. Unless you're a race god and beat it right off the bat, or you're using some guide, you have to have money that you can burn on Bloons, and in this economy, that alone might just make this the hardest thing to do in Bloons. You really don't have a whole lot of room to improve with all that considered, and this achievement is made way harder than it should be because of that. And the rest of the achievements that come after these really have nothing to do with skill at all. It's mainly stuff that asks you to do one thing an absurd amount of times. Like for Stage of Empires, you have to capture 50 tiles, has a 1.9% completion rate. The reason why it's so low is mostly the same as Conquested Territory. No one cares about this game mode. The next achievement is so low because it demands you use a feature that I don't think is explained at all. Team Player asks you to win 25 times with monkey teams. If you're like me, you have no idea what monkey teams even are. When I was reading this, I thought it was some new game mode or something. It turns out that whenever you see this symbol in the tower frame, it means that this tower is in a monkey team. If you only use the 3 towers in that team, you get extra monkey money and the monkey team spawns on another map. Beating 50 games with 3 specific towers isn't that hard, but it's insanely hard to do using a feature that's barely even explained. From looking at the Reddit, I can tell I'm not the only one who had no idea what the monkey team symbol meant. The next achievement is Modicius Rises. They added the Mo in front of Odysseus to make it sound monkey-themed, but it really doesn't work. This achievement demands that you complete 50 Odysseys, and a whopping 1.4% of people have done it. This is an absurd amount of Odysseys to do, especially when you consider Bloons is a mobile game. Most people are probably hopping on for the occasional easy game on their lunch break, so when you see you have to do all these maps and go on a Bloons genocide world tour, I can see how most people would be turned off. The main tower defense game mode clearly is and will always be king, so when you ask someone to complete a side mode on a mobile game 50 times, that's going to be one of the hardest things to do. Have you popped 100 golden balloons? The statistics say you haven't unless you're one of the 1.3% of people who have completed the glittering gold achievement. Outright, this is another one where the real challenge is getting anyone to care. I don't think I've popped a single golden balloon in my many hours of playing Bloons, and I don't think I could possibly care less about that fact. Golden balloons spawn on random maps and give you goodies if you're able to pop them. Unless you just so happen to have a strat that can destroy the golden, you're probably going to have to plan around it at least a little bit. Considering the fact that golden balloons only give you some monkey money, Why would anyone change their tower lineup in the slightest to take it down? I looked around online too, and the consensus seems to be the same. People genuinely do not care enough to pop golden balloons, and they definitely don't care enough to pop 100. How much time do you have on Bloons? How many games have you completed? Would you say it's a lot? Well, sorry to break it to you, you're wrong. The only way to tell a true Bloons pro from a noob is whether you have the Sappier achievement or not. A total of 1.2% of people have popped 5 million fortified balloons. Yeah, this is an achievement, and an insanely hard one at that. You have to play an absurd amount that I don't even know how to describe how hard this is. Well, actually, I do, because I did the math. In every Chimps game, you will get 2,953 pops towards the achievement, and a Chimps game takes about 30 minutes. If you sit there and grind Chimps to get this achievement, you will have to play 1,693 games of Chimps. That means you would have to spend 820 hours just for this one achievement. That's probably more playtime than most people watching this video have. The craziest thing is, this is so far from the hardest thing in Bloons. When you pick an easy map and a good strategy, it's really just a matter of time. The true tests of skill are still ahead. Next, we have Bloons TD 500, which makes you gain entry to 500 races. I don't think this is really even possible without getting access to a race multiple times, so it has a 1.1% completion rate, and it's probably because of the race paywall. That's also just an insane amount of races to do. Then there's Team Captain, which is just team player, but you have to win 100 times with monkey teams instead of 25, and that has a 1.1% completion rate. We are now going into the 1% and below completion zone, starting with the daily read. You have to win 365 unique daily challenges. This one is also difficult for the same reason the collect daily chest for a year one is. But this one is, of course, way harder because you have to actually play the game for this one. 1% of players have unlocked this one. Odyssey Forever has a 0.9% completion rate, asking you to complete 100 Odysseys. Ultimate Team Up is just like the other Monkey Teams achievements, but you need to do it 100 times. Once again, same issue, this one has a 0.9% completion rate. We have yet another 0.9% completion rate achievement with Magical Gold. For this one, you have to pop 50 golden balloons in the Magic Monkeys only mode. Still the same thing about no one caring about golden balloons, and even less when you have to do it in a super specific game mode. Next is Moving House, which has you redeploy 1,000 monkey towers with the support Chinook. This is another 0.9% completion rate. If you're specifically looking for this achievement, it's gonna take forever, but you'd still be able to do it. However, who honestly has this many towers to move around? I use support Chinooks to permabrew all my towers and call it a day, and I think that's how it is with the vast majority of people. Especially whenever you take into account the ability cooldowns, this seems super frustrating. This gives the vibe of some sort of Sisyphusian task that would be made into a layer of hell or something. I don't wish this on anyone. Do you actually play community maps? The answer is probably a straight up no given the statistics of our next achievement, Community Connoisseur. At a 0.8% completion rate, you have to play 100 different community submissions, whether it be a map, Odyssey, or challenge. This shares issues with pretty much all the side mode achievements. When you open Bloons, you expect to play the main tower defense game mode. People don't really come for much else. Getting people to play stuff other than that is already hard, but getting them to play it 100 times, nearly impossible. Also, a lot of the community stuff is very memey and not up to the quality you would expect from Ninja Kiwi, so why would you not go play the official maps? To get Glorious Gold, you have to pop 500 golden balloons. Yup, same as the other ones, just even more annoying. Once again, we already went over what makes this difficult, but this one has a shockingly low 0.7 completion rate. There is no reason to get this if you're not a completionist. Finally, we are at the hardest achievement in all of BTD6. We'll go over it and then we'll move on to challenges in BTD6 that exist outside of achievements. The hardest achievement in the game is Nah, I'd Win. Obviously a reference to my sweet Prince Go-Go. To get this one, you have to beat tar pits on hard with no monkey knowledge or powers. This is both a very hard achievement and a very hidden one. Both contribute to its insanely low 0.4% completion rate. If you don't know what tar pits is, it's the hidden harder version of spa pits. When you load into the map, you have to click these rocks in a certain order before you start the game, and most of the water will turn into unusable tar. then the track will be cut down by an insane amount. Since most of the water is gone, some of the best places to put towers down have now been removed. There are strategies and ways to do this, but when you consider the fact that this is a hidden achievement revolving around a hidden feature that turns a beginner's map into an expert map, I think you get why this is the hardest achievement in the game. Achievements out of the way, let's dive into some of the craziest community-imposed challenges that overshadow every achievement in difficulty easily. Before that though, let's do a quick lightning round of things that are really difficult but didn't quite make this list. Crate time is an achievement that makes you open a diamond crate in any collection event. You have to absolutely lock in if you want a chance of scoring a diamond, and I honestly don't think you can get this without no-lifing at least a little bit. To get 2 Mega Pops, you have to win a Chimps game with more than 2 million damage dealt by one tower. The amount of buffing that has to go on here is crazy. You would also need to have the game knowledge to know which towers can even accomplish something like this. Chimps is already hard as is, this just makes it way harder. To get Kali Ma, you have to gain 10 levels of Adora in one round. Respectfully, there is no way I'm going to sacrifice so many of my beautiful towers all for some hero levels. Bloon Master Populace is also difficult because you have to deal 1 million damage with a Bloon Master Alchemist, and screw that guy, I don't like him. Alright, now back to the actual list. Challenges harder than any achievement we've talked about so far. Our first challenge is one of the hardest and most terrifying things the community has ever concocted. What you're looking at right now is a community map that was made to break anyone who dares to play it. I'm talking about Triangle Cave Chimps. Yeah, this map is so hard that chimps on it is one of the hardest things you can do in BTD6. You may look at this map and think, the balloons loop around the middle and then exit through another route, but you are so wrong. Each of these small paths are their own entrance and exit, and around those paths you get one place barely big enough to put a singular monkey. From round 1 to 100, you need to somehow work with such a limited amount of space and not lose any lives by some miracle. Remember, in Chimps, you can't sell anything, so what you place on those tiny rocks is permanent. To make it all worse, to survive the early rounds, you essentially need dart monkeys on the piece of land surrounded by the path. So the 3 most valuable places on the map are taken up by some dart monkeys that were required to survive round 1. This seems impossible, but it's actually doable if you have the right strat. The only place you have to place stuff that's left would be the middle, which is hardly in range of anything, so it doesn't really help. But throwing an Alk buff sniper up there helps postpone your death for a few rounds longer. Then there's Geraldo, the hero that makes this remotely possible. He has an item which lets you turn a dart monkey into a super monkey. Boom, your dart monkeys that you were stuck with to survive the early rounds are now useful. There's way more to beating this chimps than I can go over in this video, but you probably have an idea of just how obnoxious this map is now. I don't know who made this or why they made it, but I would like to have a word with them. You can't make a single mistake if you even want a chance to beat this map, and that's doubled down on when you're trying to do chimps. Because this isn't an achievement, I don't have statistics on how many people have accomplished this, but I don't need data to know that hardly anyone has done this. The crazy part is that this isn't even the hardest thing to do on this list. This is the point where you need to be a pretty good Bloons player to even have a chance of accomplishing this stuff. Let's move on to something actually difficult. 2 Tower Chimps is one of the hardest challenges in Bloons. It's definitely been made easier by multiple strategies being figured out over time and general Bloons power creep, but it still remains one of the hardest self-imposed challenges in all of Bloons. Without any guides, if you're able to complete 2 Tower Chimps, you are in the upper echelon of Bloons players. You know by heart what most rounds consist of and have intimate knowledge of most towers in the game. For most people, Chimps is already hard enough of a challenge, but this is Chimps without any room for error or experimentation. It's such a huge challenge that I don't think it's possible on every map. 2 Tower Chimps is easily one of the hardest challenges in Bloons and a good test to see if you're able to do the truly insane challenges that we have from here on out. Now, the second most difficult thing you can do in Bloons. Hit 125 on Deflation. Deflation is a game mode in BTD6 where you can't make any money. You're given a large sum of money at the start of the game and you have to survive with only that cash. To really emphasize how hard this is, in normal Deflation you're only supposed to get to round 60 to win. This means that if you're trying to get to round 125, you need to stretch an amount of money that is normally meant to only get you to round 60 all the way to 125. As crazy as it seems, it is possible. There are strats around it and known ways to make it easier. From the little I've seen, it seems like using the discount monkey village is essential to having a chance at this. Since this isn't an achievement, I don't have statistics, but it's easily less than 0.5% of the player base. It's a similar thing to 2 tower chimps in the way that you would have to be experienced enough to know every move you're going to make before you take your first step. You have to know all the rounds and prices of every single tower and upgrade, and probably run some calculations too. I don't understand why anyone would want to do this. Instead of actually playing the game, you're spending most of your time in the lobby running numbers, or if you're a Chad, I guess you can just dug it out until you win. And now, the absolute hardest thing to do in BTD6 is black border every single map. This takes so much experience and skill to know how to win every map on every mode, and it is insanely time consuming. You're potentially talking about thousands of hours just to get the border on every map. Even if you're an amazing player, you can't run from the flow of time. You'll be in retirement by the time you finish this. It's currently a goal I'm pursuing, and I can say from experience that it sucks. Bloons is far from the only thing I play, but it's taken me years to try and black border every map. To make it worse, there are constant updates from Ninja Kiwi that add maps and make the goal of black bordering all of them further and further away with every update. If you plan on pursuing this, you need to be a top tier Bloons player, because this will demand every bit of skill you have and ask you to have another level of dedication to Bloons. It is without a doubt the hardest thing to do in all of Bloons history. Those were the hardest things to do in BTD6. How many have you done before? If you like this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you want to see amazing content just like this, go ahead and click the video on screen to watch the history of the Dart Monkey. Don't forget to check out Omen Slime. And until next time, be sure to keep a watch on Bloons Watch.